There are certain words that follow you through life. Not the big loud ones said in anger during a single fight. No, it's the quiet ones, the casual ones. The labels your family gives you when you read too young to understand that words can build walls inside you. For 34 years, I was the golden retriever of the family. That was the nickname my parents, my older brother, and even my cousins used for me. It started when I was maybe 7 years old. They said it was affectionate. They said it was because I was friendly, loyal, and always wagging my tail, eager to please. But if you listen closely to a nickname, you hear the truth beneath it. A golden retriever is simple, eager, excitable, but not particularly smart. Great for fetching things, but not for much else. By the time I was 12, the joke had evolved. I wasn't just the golden retriever. I was the slow one, the one who didn't get the good grades. The one who struggled with math while my brother aced his exams. At family dinners, when the conversation turned to achievements, the room would go quiet when they looked at me. Before we get into this, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to know where you are right now. Now, let me take you back. My father would pat me on the head, literally, pat me on the head and say, "Don't worry, someone has to drive the truck, right?" Not everyone can be the doctor. My mother would laugh, that quick dismissive laugh, and add, "As long as you're happy, sweetie. You've always been our simple one." And my brother, 3 years older, would just smile that smile. The smile of someone who already knows he has won the race before you've even left the starting line. I learned to laugh along with them. What else could I do? When you're a kid, you believe your family. You believe the reflection they hold up in front of you. If they say you're the dumb one, you start to feel dumb. If they say you're simple, you stop reaching for complex things. I stopped trying in school. Not because I couldn't do it, but because trying and failing in front of them was worse than not trying at all. At least if I didn't try, I was choosing to be the golden retriever. If I tried and failed, I would just be the failure. So I fetched, I helped, I was agreeable. I stayed in the background while my brother collected trophies and scholarships. High school ended. College came and went, a small state school, not the Ivy League my brother attended. I studied something practical, something that felt safe, marketing. Nobody in my family knew what to make of it. It wasn't law, it wasn't medicine. My dad called it the fancy word for selling things. After graduation, I didn't land a big corporate job. I didn't move to the city. Instead, I found myself working at a small local newspaper. The pay was terrible. The building smelled like old coffee and newsprint, but I loved it. I was selling advertising space to local businesses, but I kept telling the editor, the businesses need better stories. They need to connect with people. My editor, a tired woman named Margaret with gray hair and endless patience, started letting me write little profiles. A baker who survived a fire. A mechanic who fixed cars for free for single moms. Just small stories, human stories. I didn't tell my family about the writing. When they asked about work, I said, "Still selling ads at the paper." My mom would sigh and say, "Well, it's a job." My brother, by then, was a successful surgeon. Engaged to a wonderful woman, buying a house. At family gatherings, the contrast was a living thing in the room, a heavy fog I had to breathe. "David," my brother would say, leaning back in his chair, "you ever think about going back to school, getting a real degree?" I could help you with applications. He meant well. I think he meant well. But the offer was also a reminder. I needed help. He was the helper. "I'm okay," I'd say. "I like my job," my dad would snort into his coffee. "You like being poor? You like driving that old truck? You're 30 years old, son. When are you going to get serious?" I didn't have an answer. I just felt smaller. Like the room was slowly squeezing the air out of me. The only place I felt big was in my tiny apartment late at night, writing, not articles for the paper, something else. I was writing about connection. About why people buy from people they trust. About the stories we tell ourselves as consumers. I started a blog, nobody read it, and just wrote. Paragraph after paragraph. It was like talking to someone who finally listened. Then the newspaper closed. Just like that, I was 34 years old, unemployed, sitting in my small apartment, staring at a stack of bills. I had no savings, no prospects. My brother was performing life-saving surgeries. I was updating my resume, trying to make sold ads sound important. I didn't go to Thanksgiving that year. I couldn't face them. My mom called, her voice full of that pity I hated. Honey, we're just worried about you. Your father says you need to get serious. Maybe look into a trade? You were always good with your hands. Translation: you're not smart enough for an office job. Go do something physical. That's your level. I hung up the phone and sat in the dark for a long time. I felt like the golden retriever. Lost, loyal to a family that saw me as a pet waiting for someone to tell me what to do. A week later, I got an email. It was from a venture capital firm in New York. I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. But the subject line said, "Regarding your blog, human-centered." My blog. The one I'd forgotten about, the one with maybe 50 readers. I opened the email. It was from a partner at the firm. He wrote that someone had shared one of my posts. A piece about how local businesses could build loyalty through emotional storytelling, and it had been passed around their office. He wanted to know if I had any more writing, if I had ideas for a book. A book. I laughed out loud. Me? Write a book? I was the dumb one. The golden retriever. I wrote back anyway, my hands shaking, saying yes, I had ideas. Lots of them. We scheduled a video call. I wore my only decent shirt. The partner, a man named Robert with gray hair and kind eyes, asked me questions for an hour. He didn't treat me like I was simple. He asked about marketing, about human psychology, about storytelling. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the quiet one. I had answers. I had thoughts. 3 weeks later, an offer arrived, not just for a book. They wanted to invest in me. They wanted to start a company. A consultancy that helped brands find their human story. The number on the offer letter made me dizzy. I won't say the exact figure now, but it was more than I'd made in 10 years at the newspaper. It was validation. It was someone looking at me and saying, "You are not simple. You are valuable." I didn't tell my family. Not yet. I was too scared. Scared they'd laugh. Scared they'd tell me it was a scam, because why would anyone invest in me? I took the offer. I moved to New York. I built the company. And for 4 years, I worked. I barely spoke to my family. Just quick texts on birthdays. "Happy birthday, love you." They probably thought I was hiding in shame. Let them think it. The company grew, slowly at first, then faster. We landed big clients. My team grew from just me in a small office to 30 people in a real office with windows. We were doing work that mattered, work that won awards. But still, in the back of my mind, I was the golden retriever. I would walk into a boardroom full of executives, and a voice would whisper, "They're going to find out. They're going to realize you're the dumb one." It wasn't until year 4 that something shifted. We were acquired. A larger marketing group bought my company for $47 million. $47 million. I sat in the lawyer's office, signing papers, and I felt nothing at first. Just a strange numbness. Then, driving home, I had to pull the car over. I sat on the side of the road, gripping the steering wheel, and I wept, not for the money. For the boy who was patted on the head. For the young man who believed he was simple. For all those years of shrinking myself so my family could feel big. I decided to go home, not for them, for me. I needed to close a circle. I drove back to my hometown in my old truck. I'd kept it, couldn't bear to sell it, and then I parked outside my parents' house. It looked smaller than I remembered. The paint was peeling a little. They were getting older. I walked in. My mom was in the kitchen. She hugged me tight, and I felt the familiar mix of love and smallness. "David, you look thin. Are you eating? Your brother is coming for dinner tonight. He just got another award at the hospital. Isn't that wonderful?" I nodded. "That's great, Mom." My dad was in his chair watching TV. He muted it when I walked in. Well, look who finally remembered where he came from. "How's the job hunt?" I hadn't told them I had a job. They assumed I was still unemployed. "It's going okay, Dad. Still selling ads?" Something like that. Dinner that night was the same as always. My brother arrived with his wife and his 2 perfect children. He dominated the conversation. A new surgery he'd pioneered, a conference in Europe, his kids' private school. At one point, my brother turned to me. "So, David, you seeing anyone?" "No," I said. "Still figuring things out?" "Yeah, still figuring things out." My dad shook his head. He's been figuring things out for 15 years. At some point, you gotta stop figuring and start doing. My mom tried to smooth it over. He's our golden retriever. He'll find his way eventually. He just takes longer. I put my fork down. I looked at them, my dad with his disappointment, my mom with her pity, my brother with his condescension, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, just peace. They didn't know me. They had never known me, and that wasn't my failure. It was theirs. After dinner, I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket. It wasn't a check. It was something better. Mom, Dad, I said. I have something for you. My dad frowned. What is it, bills? It's an invitation. To the opening of our new headquarters in New York. My brother laughed. New headquarters for what? The ad-selling company? No, I said quietly. For my company. The one I started 4 years ago. The one we just sold for $47 million. The silence was absolute. I placed the invitation on the table. It was embossed with gold lettering, my name as founder. The new headquarters address. My brother picked it up, stared at it, then at me. His face went pale. This is a joke. It's not a joke, I said. I didn't tell you because I didn't think you'd believe me. And honestly, I didn't need you to. I needed to believe in myself first. My mom's hand went to her mouth. Her eyes were wide, wet. David, all those years, why didn't you say something? Because every time I tried, you reminded me who you thought I was. And I was tired of fighting it, so I just left. And I built something, on my own. My dad didn't say a word. He just stared at the invitation, then at me, as if seeing me for the first time. The golden retriever was gone. In his place was a man. A man who had wagged his tail for their approval for 30 years, then finally walked out the door and found his own path. I stayed for coffee, we talked, but it was different. The power had shifted. Not because of the money is just money, but because I had finally stopped seeking their approval. And in that moment, I realized I had never needed it. I only needed my own. Driving away that night, I passed the old high school, the small newspaper office, the streets where I had felt so small. And I felt gratitude, not for the pain, but for the journey. For the late nights writing. For the belief that grew slowly, quietly, like a seed in dark soil. The family still doesn't quite know what to do with me. My dad doesn't pat my head anymore. My mom doesn't call me simple. My brother doesn't offer to help me with job applications. We're learning a new way to be family. It's awkward. It's slow. But it's real, and me. I still think about the golden retriever sometimes. Not with shame, with tenderness, because that dog was loyal. That dog worked hard, that dog just wanted to be loved. But dogs grow up. And sometimes, the one you thought was just fetching sticks was actually building a house, brick by brick, while you weren't looking. If there's a lesson in all of this, it's simple. The labels we give each other, dumb, smart, failure, success, they're just words. They're just stories we agree to believe. But you can write your own story. You can always write your own story. It just takes the courage to put down the pen they gave you and pick up your own. So here I am, David, founder, writer, former golden retriever. And for the first time in my life, I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't forget to subscribe to Secret Chapter for more real-life stories that remind us of the strength we carry within. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. The world needs your story.